Well, good morning. We darkened the room. Can you guys see the overhead okay?
Yeah.
I know you can't read it, but this is our starting point every week, or has been for several weeks, and we're bringing it in. We're actually going to be looking at the 12th blessing, the last blessing this morning of Jacob to his 12 sons. But before we get into that, I just, by way of review, last week we finished up the Joseph blessing, and you had some table time last week. And the question was, as we studied Joseph, it is very apparent that he was blessed, and that connection, they were all blessed, but he was blessed in connection to his ability to endure attack and unfairness, and his response to that. And of course his life reflected that. Well, the question then that I had, that I proposed to you guys, and you guys talked about it, was, as you think about Joseph, was he blessed because of his steady endurance, or did he endure because he was blessed? You know, which kind of the chicken or the egg kind of question. And we did discuss that as a group last week, and I don't know, what do you think was the consensus from last week? Those of you who were here, what was your thought? What did we come up with as a group?
Both he was blessed before and after.
All of the above. My take on it, I was thinking, is there a third option? And it's not unlike what you guys were saying, but I think all human beings are abundantly blessed. I mean, of course, I'm speaking from a very narrow perspective, but the very fact that we're a common creation of God Almighty, and we have the gift of life is a marvelous gift. But part of our humanness and fallenness is that we don't understand that. We don't understand what we have been given, and it takes time to grow into that awareness. And there's lots, a whole biographies can be written of that journey. Each of us has a unique journey. But something happens, at least in a man's life, that I think occurs, that as a man ages, and through, hopefully anyway, that there can be a time where he realizes he's blessed. And once a man, or a woman for that matter, once a human being realizes what God has done and the abundance of blessing that they have had, it opens up a whole nother chapter of their life. So, Charlie, I concur. Yes, was he blessed before, after? Yes, and all along the way. And I have no doubt Joseph, as an older man, realized how much he had been blessed, even through the tremendous trials that he had been through. And the reason I know that is just simply because how he responded in forgiveness towards his brothers. So, anyway, that's what we talked about last week. Moving on this morning, we're going to be looking at Genesis 49:27, and I'll just go ahead and read it. It's one verse. It's the last blessing to Brother Benjamin. On the left-hand side over here is the text, 3 phrases, and then on the right-hand side we'll look at how I'm interpreting those. Benjamin is a ravenous wolf. Boy, my first reading was that's a negative image, a ravenous wolf. We think in context as a wolf that is out to devour, and that's truly what the text is saying here. 2 supportive statements, or actually over here, aggressive pursuit. And I'm casting this, where you're going to see me go with this, is an aggressive pursuit towards something, the prey, versus a defensive posture. So there's an aggression about Benjamin's blessing. In the morning, he devours the prey, and conversely, or contrasting, and in the evening, he divides the spoils. Two supportive statements to the first phrase. The first phrase is the general phrase, and then how is he a ravenous wolf? Well, number one, in the morning, he goes out on the hunt. He's out hunting, and he devours the prey. We know what he is looking for. He pursues and he kills and devours that prey. But in the evening, that same wolf then takes that prey, that which has been killed and conquered, and divides the spoils among the other, the other wolves, among the family, the pack, whatever it is. So supportive statement one, he's actively engaged in pursuit. Supportive statement number two, he's victorious. He is victorious for the benefit of others. He brings the spoils back to divide those spoils, among the pack. So there's kind of the first reading. As we've looked at all of the sons, we first want to look at the birth background, Genesis 35, 16 through 19. And I wrote this little phrase here. Here's the context. Jacob has returned back home to the land after living most of his adult life, raising his family in Haran. He returns back to the land. We've studied that. He returns back to Bethel, that very place from which he started years before, the place of promise. That's where God first spoke the promise. Jacob, I'm going to bless you, and through you all the nations will be blessed. The continuation of the Abrahamic blessing. And now he returns back. He receives the same blessing. Jacob builds an altar. There's worship. And then after that, he and his family depart. They head south towards Hebron, where he will meet his father. While on the way, Rachel goes into what became a life-taking labor at the little settlement named Ephrath, PH, later called Bethlehem. It's Bethlehem. And there she died giving birth to Benjamin. And right before she died, she spoke out and said, we will name him Benoni, which is son of sorrow, because of the sorrow that she had gone through in the childbirth. But then quickly Jacob says, no, his name shall be Benjamin, son of my right hand. Son of my right hand. From son of sorrow, son of my sorrow, to son of my right hand. Interesting. So that's his birth background. Next, we look at Jacob's tribal allocation, like we have done before with the other sons. Benjamin's tribal allocation borders Judah. Here's Judah, and Benjamin is just to the north. Benjamin was the tribe. Now we're talking about the tribe, not the man. The tribe that joined with Judah during the time of the divided kingdom. There's a lot of history there. But right after King Solomon, the kingdom of Israel split into two nations. From there on, it became the kingdom of Judah and the kingdom of Israel. And the kingdom of Judah to the south was, the first king was Rehoboam. And the reason the kingdom split was there was a rebellion under Jeroboam. And the northern kingdoms split out because they said, we want our independence. We want to do it our way. And that's a very short explanation. But Judah and Benjamin remained, and the center of worship, of course, was Jerusalem. The verse that I cited was, now when Rehoboam had come to Jerusalem, he assembled all the house of Judah and the tribe of Benjamin, 180,000 chosen men who were warriors. Warriors to fight against the house of Israel to restore the kingdom to Rehoboam, the son of Solomon. The 10 northern tribes rebelled. Benjamin and Judah, the tribes, were those who were trying to restore the kingdom to what it was meant to be under the Davidic rule, that with Jerusalem as the center. So they were trying to bring back that which was broken, that which was, in a sense, divorced from itself, to bring it back and to restore it. A lot of information here. So, observations about Benjamin. Observations. Number one, regarding the blessing proper, as we're reading here in Genesis chapter 49, Benjamin is to be a victorious, and I use the word aggressor. I thought, what is the word I want to use here? Victor, a victorious warrior? I think there's more to it. I think it's an aggressor, one who attacks. Benjamin is the one who will attack, and who will benefit. He's a victorious aggressor who will benefit others through that attack, through his accomplishments. See, there you go. Benjamin, the ravenous wolf, goes out and devours in the morning, and in the evening divides the spoils. You get the picture? Number two, these are just observations. Regarding his birth, Benjamin's birth, he was first named Sorrow. Sorrow, but his father renamed him Son of my right hand. And that term signifies strength. The right hand is the hand of strength. Well, for some of you, I'm left-handed, so. But traditionally, the right hand was the hand of strength and honor, son of my right hand, and purpose. When you think of Jesus after the victory, where is it in his Apostles' Creed? Apostles' Creed. Is it? Jeez. Oh, come on, Bob, help me. What do you? Is it the apostle?
Ask the question again.
I believe in God the Father, maker of heaven
and earth.
And Jesus Christ, his only Son, who was born. Pontius Pilate. On the third day, from the dead. And he's sitting at the right hand of God the Father. You see that? Is that the Apostles' Creed? I kept saying Nicene. No, that's not Nicene. Apostles' Creed, yeah. Good Presbyterian back there. Okay, so strength, honor, and purpose regarding his birth. Son of my right hand. Number three, regarding the tribal allocation, Benjamin, now the tribe, played a role to restore the integrity of the kingdom. The kingdom rule. The kingdom rule was, in a sense, the king and the kingdom rule was to be centralized out of Jerusalem. And so, therefore, that's what King Judah and Benjamin, their whole reason for existence was to restore the rule back to where it was intended to be. And so it was all about restoration, bringing back. And you're thinking, oh my goodness, Mike, time out here. All this information, where is this going? Well, I've come up with four ideas here regarding Benjamin. And as each of you know, we've been looking at the blessing as it pertains to the man. We've been looking at the blessing, trying to make correlation as it relates to the tribe of which that son fathers. And then, of course, then you have the nation of Israel as well. And so this was my take on Benjamin. We, as human beings, we naturally look to the end of the story, whatever the story is, we look to the end of the story to reveal and to explain the meaning of the story. The punch is always at the end of the story, or it wouldn't be a story. I mean, that's so easy to understand. Benjamin is the last in the order of the blessings. Thus, it is valid to ask what bearing his blessing has on the prior blessings. And even, no, I'm saying it's valid. It's one way to do it. It's what I'm asking. You know, we may look at these as just linear. But there could be a story that this is telling, and I don't think I'm alone in my interpretation of what this whole prophetic blessing, this time of Jacob with his sons, is offering to the world at large, the message. So we're going to ask, well, what does this blessing have bearing on in regard to the rest of the prior blessings, and even more importantly, on this most sacred occasion of their father saying goodbye. Okay, that's how I'm casting this last blessing. And so here are my thoughts. And I've got four thoughts. Here's number one. The birth of Benjamin is prophetic in the sense of where it occurred and what is spoken. Centuries later, at this very place, a second birth will occur in the most humble of circumstances. Now, I think, Art, who are we talking about here?
Jesus?
Jesus.